Good evening. I would like to introduce you to Nancy Maxwell. She has been both a rape crisis medical legal advocate and rape crisis counselor at the Women's Center for almost 10 years. She ran the Women's Empowerment Group at the Irma Hayes Center in Carbondale for many years with few resources. Nancy has been fighting for social justice for over a decade in Southern Illinois. In 2020, Nancy was a recipient of the WSIU's Neighborly Award and the Centerstone Community Champion Award. She was the first Black female officer in Mounds, Illinois, is the Criminal Justice Chair for the Carbondale NAACP branch, and founding member of the Carbondale United and Southern Illinois Unity Coalition. Let's welcome Nancy Maxwell.
Thank you, Yolanda. Our summit schedule today, there are 4 speakers today. The first one is pre-recorded. After the live speakers, there will be a Q&A period. You can submit your questions before the Q&A period in the chat or the Q&A. There will be a prize drawing at the end of the program. Housekeeping tips. When I ask the question, there are 3 ways to submit your question. If you are viewing this summit in Zoom, use the Q&A function. Submit your question anonymously by checking Send the Anonymously box. If you are viewing this summit on Facebook, comment on the live stream. If you're having a technical problem, use the Raise Hand function. To be eligible to win prizes, you must complete the registration form before the summit and attend the summit. Winners will be contacted via phone or email. Carbondale United mission statement. The mission of Carbondale United is to provide an avenue of healing and community safety through the following: awareness, education, and activism. Our goal is to eliminate gun violence and racism from our neighborhoods and to provide events that are inclusive and diverse. And our first speaker is Jerica Griffin. She's a SIU law student, and we'll be watching her video.
Hello. First, I would like to thank Nancy and Carbondale United for inviting me to speak today. I'm sad that I cannot join you all live, but I have a new niece and I am home with my sister helping her. But again, thank you for having me. It is my honor and my pleasure to speak to you all today. So today I'm going to be talking about the Black dollar outside the box. So what does it mean when you say there's power in the Black dollar? Why are Black-owned businesses and generational wealth key to the success of our communities? Why is it that when we tap into that power, we are seen and treated as threats? Now, anyone who's ever heard me speak knows that I love to give history lessons. It is my belief that we should know and understand historical context so that hopefully we will not replicate the mistakes and poor decisions of the past. There have been many thriving Black communities in the United States since Reconstruction, and I'm not going to go through them all right now. But I will say that we as the people have proven ourselves not only to be imaginative, but also innovative. The bondage that we endured forced us to be resourceful as a necessity to our survival. Today, I do not wish to talk about our struggle because I believe that we are more or less aware of that struggle. We all understand it. Today, I want to speak to you about our power. $1.3 trillion. $1.3 trillion is the buying power of Black Americans. Now, we may be among the lowest earning demographics in this country, but somehow we spend more money than other groups that out earn us. Money talks, and as Black people, we need to align and speak with our pockets. The power that we wield with our money has before, and it can in the future, if we so choose to incentivize in dictating how corporate America treats Black people. One recent example is the passing of the new voter suppression bill in Georgia State. Now, when the bill was first introduced, Georgia-based companies like Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola were mum. They just really didn't say anything. Now, for those of you who don't know, the new Georgia bill places barriers to voting that will heavily impact Black and brown communities. For instance, it shortens the time available for absentee voting and introduces new registration requirements. Now, initially, Delta Airlines supported the bill quietly. However, when we spoke, when we let companies like Delta and Coca-Cola know that we would not stand for their complicity and that they would lose our support if they did not stand firm against this bill. Now, it is true that these large companies are likely speaking out to protect their brands and to save the faces of their business. But that's what businesses do. That's what business is about. We must be strategic about where and how we spend our money. We must protect ourselves and our money and our wealth with the same ferociousness that corporate America employs to protect theirs. We tell corporate America that they must stand up and take a hardline stance against injustice. I say that we too have to stand up and take a hardline stance against the financial abuse that we have endured for generations. We are more likely to live in food deserts. We're more likely to have payday title loan companies on every corner in our communities. We are more likely to be preyed upon by predatory lenders. We spend more money for the same products and services as other races. I believe that it is more than obvious that we must protect ourselves because no one else is going to look out for us. The Black dollar ended segregation. When Black people united together and decided to stop riding the buses in Montgomery, Alabama, the country had to reckon with how they treated us. We cannot wait for people in power to do the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do. We must force their hand, y'all. We cannot lean into their morality because their morality seeks to diminish and dehumanize us. We must speak to them in a language that they understand, and they understand green. $1.3 trillion. You see, we dictate the cool in America. It is our style, our dance, our language, our melanin that directs society and culture. But we have never been invited to the box. We've always been just outside the box. You know, they might let us get really, really close to the door, but they never invite us in. And when you think about it, that is why it has been so easy for us to think, create, and exist outside of that box, because that is where we have been since 1619. We shouldn't want to be inside the box, though. The box is narrow and small and suffocating. The box wouldn't know what to do with us. We are far too dynamic a people to be confined in that box. That box is the myth of white acceptance. The gatekeepers of that box have told us and have shown us time and time again that we must contort ourselves into their desired mode in order to gain entry. And even then, they do not let us in. They convince us that we need them, that somehow where they are is where we should want to be. I am telling you all today that that could not be further from the truth. The truth is that they are bored as hell inside that box. You see, it is them who want what we have. It is them who want to be where we are. They want our style and our flair and our creativity. They do not seek to share or to exchange any goods or services as proper payment for our assets. Oh no, 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 no. You see, they want to take what they can from us and take it back into their boxes. But when they do that, it just doesn't curl all the way over, you know. They tan their skin because they know how rich our melanin is. They braid their hair because they are in awe of the magic that we create with our tresses. They take what we freely create, box it up, and sell it back to us. They mimic our dances, but they can never mimic our rhythm. We cannot and we shall not be force-fed, bland, and mediocre substitutions of our creations. We cannot and we shall not use our money and our power on the great value version of our name brand chic. We cannot and we shall not freely give and share our genius with them any longer. $1.3 trillion. That is the power that we wield. That is the power we must protect. Like a spoiled child, they do not wish to share. They wish to rape and pillage and take and to devastate. They are not creative. It is the same story through every generation, through every movement. They simply seek to separate and destroy. We know what they're going to do because this is the same thing that they've been doing since 1619. See, they know that it takes a twofold approach. They must keep us out of the box, but they must also eradicate our unity. It is true that our money is power, but it is truer that our unity is their undoing. When we unite in protest, when we unite in activism, when we unite in our dollars, this is why there is power in our money. This is why our business and our generational wealth are the keys to the success of our community. This is why when we tap in, they see us and they treat us as threats. This is why we cannot relent. I implore my brothers and my sisters to no longer seek entry into that box. I ask each of us to demand with our wallets as well as our mouths. This country is in debt to black folks, y'all. It's time for us to show them that they must make good on their debts to us. They can no longer freely take and use our creations. You see, because if I'm being completely honest, this country is bankrupt. This country has taken more from us than any bank robber or jewel thief. We have floated this country on debt for far too long, and now is the time for them to pay. They owe us much more than they could ever give. This is why they should be thankful that we seek equity and not revenge. $1.3 trillion. That's what we mean to them. Brothers and sisters, we do not belong in their box because those margins seek only to confine and stifle us. We flourish on the outside, and we shall continue to do so. It is with love and adoration for our people in my heart that I say we are stronger together than we are apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Jericho, for that awesome video. Our next speaker is Matt Simpson. Matt Simpson is a father, community development strategist, an entrepreneur based in Rockford, Illinois. He is the co-founder of Waybungo, I hope I'm saying that right, leadership counselor, and a managing partner of 815 Capital LLC. In addition to his entrepreneurial and community development efforts, Simpson aspires to be a true man of culture in the spirit of the great Amy Caesar. More information on Matt can be found at About Me/Matt Simpson 100. Welcome to the stage, Matt.
All right, thank you very much, Carbondale United and Nancy. And Sister Jerica did a great job, I think, kind of kicking things off. That was almost poetic, the way that she was kind of rolling lyrically and speaking on a lot of the things that Nancy, you shared. I just want to first just acknowledge Carbondale United. I think that I believe in self-determination, this concept of deciding for yourself and determining for yourself what success looks like, and then doing that together. So I think it's beautiful that you are leading this organization to really just decide what you want to do, you being your community, your people. So I just think that's a really powerful thing on the front end. And we've done some work in my official W-2 capacity. And, I'm just very proud to say that I've been able to work with you. You pull some webinars together for the Carbondale community. I'm excited to see the great things that you do in the future. Also, I've connected with a couple of people who are on the line. Sister Chambers, we were able to talk about a coalition that you're building. It's really just important that we link up and connect with each other. Sister Jerica touched on that, how important it is for us to unite. There's strength, unity brings success, and there's strength in our unity. So those are just things I want to say on the front end. And actually, I didn't really have prepared remarks. I thought that we were doing a kind of a panel situation, but I'm happy to just speak on, from an entrepreneurial perspective. I'm a partner in a LLC here in my hometown of Rockford, Illinois, and it's called 815 Capital. So we've been in business for 7 years now, and there's 5 of us. Speaking of unity, and we all scraped our pennies together and invested in some multifamily residential real estate projects. And that is the foundation now of our project activity. So our purpose statement, we say that we understand people find value in rich experiences and quality relationships. So what we do is bring those things to people, leveraging 3 strategies. The first strategy is our real estate. So quality housing, and solid neighborhoods close to amenities. And then we do collaborations where we partner with brands and companies to develop products or projects to create excitement, rich experiences, quality relationships. And then we do events, which become platforms for people to connect with each other, enjoy rich experience, quality relationships. So what that means is, we've kind of determined that people will dig in their pockets and pay you if you can bring those things to people. And the foundation of it, though, is ownership. So we've developed an independent institution similar to a Carbondale United, where we've come together to determine for ourselves what success looks like And now we're advancing a plan and a strategy to achieve that success. And, ownership often determines the opportunities that you'll be able to tap into. You have to be able to control what's in front of you. And in our case, we're controlling real estate assets. So, that's very important. And on the front end, I'll just say that ownership a lot of times dictates the opportunities that you'll be able to achieve or enjoy. So when we talk about legacy, when we talk about generational wealth, when we talk about buying power and things like that, it's nice, I guess, to say that we have a $1.3 trillion of buying power. But for me, it almost means nothing because we don't own much. And that's where it's a slight nuance, I think, in the mindset. It's a potential. It's a lot of potential power that if we leverage it, it can change the world. But, and there's a lot of explanations for it, but as it stands today, we don't index very high in ownership, insurance investments, stock investments, real estate, holdings, wealth. So I think it really helps, for my business in particular. The first thing we did was scrape our pennies together, like I said, pool our resources to acquire real estate assets, to own them. And that gives us footing to be able to move how we would like to move. So right now we own multifamily properties, and we leverage the revenues to pour into our strategies around collaborations and events. And so that first piece, I think, was really important for us. Ownership really dictates your opportunities. That was the first piece. And then I'll just add to that before I yield the floor back. So ownership is huge, and being prepared to leverage your talents yourself. It can be very scary and challenging and lonely, to pursue a business idea, an entrepreneurial endeavor. And we have a history of success in doing so. So I think we need to, like I said, a slight shift in our mindset. Be prepared for responsibility in this way. And that's not to say that people aren't ready for that, or I'm not trying to undermine, anybody. I'm really just sharing some of my perspective on business ownership and entrepreneurship. It's very difficult, and it's very rewarding to be an entrepreneur. And when you can lean into that challenge, you'll reap rewards that you'll never imagine over time, for sure. So I think it's really important to understand, and that's just kind of trying to right the expectations, really like reset the expectation. There's a lot of discussions around entrepreneurship about glamour, being your own boss and things like that. Well, we have to really understand what that means and what that entails. Responsibility, and accountability. That's what it means. And you have to love being responsible for reintroducing your product or service every opportunity you get, for finding your customer and connecting with them wherever they are, for tightening up your processes, for tracking revenues, that's accounting, for getting your legal structure in line, because there's a difference between a hustle and a business. And the business, owning a business, is what's going to protect you and what you can leverage as a weapon to advance yourself in success. All of that is real work. And but when you step into that position as an entrepreneur and as an owner, you really kind of putting armor on yourself and your family, and putting yourself in a position to do some really special things as it relates to legacy and as it relates to wealth, generational wealth. So I would say, like I said, I didn't really have prepared remarks, but those are just a couple of things I wanted to share on the front end hoping that we have some question and answer time and I'd be happy to share more.
Thank you so much, Matt. Yolanda, do we have any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. We'll just move on to the next speaker, and maybe we'll get some more questions here. Meet your speaker, Lynn Chambers. Lynn Chambers started Chambers and Associates in 2001. This is a professional services firm providing training, technical assistance for program planning, meeting, event planning, and facilitation, as well as community engagement services. She has been a contractor for federal and state government, non-for-profits, and foundation. CNA currently is a co-facilitator for the Coalition for Minority Businesses with Shawnee College Small Business Development Center. She entered the nonprofit sector as a founder/executive director of Legacy Training Incorporated in 2009, whose vision is to alleviate poverty of mind, body, and spirit, and whose mission is to promote health and expand the arts in underserved communities. And you can reach them at www.legacytraininginc.org. In 2019, she opened the Law Office of Lynn Chambers, LLC in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. This boutique law practice provides a variety of legal services in caring, competent, and compassionate manner. Welcome to the stage, Lynn Chambers.
Thank you, Nancy, for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. Of course, you always make sure you get a wonderful introduction when you write it yourself. I also want to say thank you for all that you do, Nancy. I know you're a tireless and committed advocate there in Carbondale. You've put me behind these two great speakers. Really appreciated what the young law student, I believe her name is Jerica, I've not met her in person, but looking forward to that. And you could certainly hear her angst and what's going on in our nation right now. Young people are really encouraging me, who has been here for a long time trying to hopefully educate and empower the community. So thank you to her. And Matt Simpson, I am so looking forward to really getting to know you better. And I could have just listened to you talk. In fact, you made several points that I had hoped to make in my very brief remarks. And of course, I'm looking forward to hearing Mr. Norris. Thank you to the Mistress of Ceremony, and thank you to Carbondale Public Library for always hosting these events. I think if I classified myself, you could call me a serial social entrepreneur. I grew up in the teeny tiny town of Grand Chain, Illinois, after my grandparents moved here from Chicago. So I can say I'm here, but we were always a little bit different because we were like those city folks and we didn't have other family around. So our unit really focused on my grandfather's dreams. And he had the dream of first co-op farming. And then he remembered that he had been a city boy too long to fool with cows and chickens and African mongoose and all this stuff that we used to have running around here. But what my grandfather, Henry Abraham, knew without a shadow of a doubt, and my mother says it, God is not making any more land. So as Brother Matt said, investing in real property, even if it's something small that you develop, is really the key to this generational wealth and to leaving a legacy. So I've had entrepreneurship models to look at, which is a really important thing that we need to have more of in our community, where we don't always talk about get a job, talk about business. and growing the community. It's important to recognize that kids look at you whether you're doing positive things or negative things or something in between. And so hopefully, and obviously this group here tonight, we get that. And that's important to recognize. When I say that I am a serial social entrepreneur, I'm going to break that down even for me. Really, it's about, I made a decision at some point in my career that I wanted to make a living by helping others and helping society at large. So those pieces, once I put those together, make me happier, make me more productive, and ideally keep me in some sort of business. My first business was Chambers and Associates. That's the consulting piece, and that's the piece that I'm working on a project with Shawnee College to do specific and targeted outreach to minority business owners. The Coalition for Minority Business is just a little bit different because we didn't limit it geographically. Zoom has made the world our audience. So we have people that come to those meetings, not only from Illinois and Southern Illinois, but Central Illinois, Northern Illinois, St. Louis, Cape Girardeau, Kentucky, Southeast Missouri. And so one thing that I always think about when people tell me, or talk to me about starting business is we live in an area where we don't have huge population. So you've got to think regionally for all of your efforts, whether it's your activism, whether it is your product, your services. And then now really focusing on e-commerce. So the other part of the college project, and if you want more information, please get in touch with me, is for the people that live in the college district. They have an opportunity to put goods or services on a fantastic e-commerce site. So I'm very proud of that work. The coalition is free, no membership, open to everybody. Call in the second Thursday of every month. The second part of what I want to just talk about very briefly is the mindset of being an entrepreneur, and especially a social entrepreneur, is I had to learn to be very uncomfortable with risk. The word innovative came out in our first presentation, but always being innovative, always not only thinking outside of the box, thinking about how do I build a better box, right? You have to also struggle as African Americans, or I am an American of African descent, to be precise. You have to struggle with the very real issue of we work on some level to try to acculturate, because that's what, quote unquote, this society says is successful, yet to keep your identity and your love and concern and your affinity for your community. So I guess I will kind of hush at this point, Nancy, talk briefly about my third business venture after Legacy, and that is, of course, the practice of law. I went back to school at age 50, so no one can ever tell me about it. I'm too old, or it can be done. So, and I did it for my legacy, my children, my grandchildren, to see that you really can do a lot if you want it bad enough. I work primarily in the Southeast Missouri area, and I work primarily in the areas of criminal law, a little bit of family, but criminal law with as a extra help, I guess is a simple way to say it, for the Missouri Public Defender's Office. And finally, and I will really shut up now, I have been fortunate, blessed, along with Nancy, to work with a group called Legacy Training. We do a big women's health conference every year. And we are also our grantees of this same initiative that brought us here tonight, Healing Illinois. So we're entering into how do we combine our interests for bringing art in underserved communities with social justice and creative dialogues. So we've put together 6 virtual performances, pairing together accomplished artists, Black artists with white artists, and asking them to collaborate and talk to us about the process, and hopefully talk about some strategies of loving each other and recognizing that when my white folks sink, I sink. When Black folks sink, we all sink because we're all in this together. It's one big boat. So we have lots more information, but save the date, April the 24th from 7 to 9 p.m. The Artist Collective on Race and Unity. Samuel Hawkins, who some of you know from Carbondale, is our resident artist for spoken word, and he's going to be performing with Jacob Gibson. We have jazz, gospel, visual art, and opera and other genres coming next. So I'll hush and see if there are questions for me, or either I will pass the baton.
Yolanda, do we
We,
have
we
any
have a
questions
couple of
for
questions.
Lynn?
Yes.
Okay.
How would one get started gathering support for a Black business, a newly operated Black business?
That's an excellent question. So there's a term called feasibility study, which is kind of a technical term for how do you know? The two most important questions I always ask people are why or how do you know? So you have this fantastic business idea, and it's the best thing ever because a couple of the folks bought it at the family reunion and it's got to be the best barbecue sauce ever. Well, how do you know? Have you let people sample it and agree it's the best ever? Have you figured out what recipes or what type of meat it works on? So really, thinking through and knowing what you want to do, which goes to business planning. So once you have a plan and you know why you're doing it, because it's got to be more than just making money, as Brother Matt said. It's hard. It's very hard. And if you're just being self-employed, having your own business just for money, it's going to get old real quick. You've got to do something that you connect with. So have a good plan, have a good product, engage others in helping you and verifying that people need what you are offering, I think would be my tips.
All right, the next two questions are for both the panelists that have already spoken. One is, because of the stimulus money, people have a little access to cash and they want to know how can they start a small business?
Matt, you want to take that first and I'll tag team after.
Oh man, how do you start a small business with your stimulus money? How do you start a small business with your stimulus money? Was it what was it? Was it $2,800? $1,400.
Yes, $1,400 per person in your household.
Okay, right. So some of us have a little bit larger houses, so we have a little bit larger stimmy.
Exactly.
How do you start it? I think it's really important that you do what Sister Chambers just said. And how do you know? I think that it's so much that goes into it. I wish I could just give you a simple silver bullet answer. What business are you getting into? Is it a product or is it a service? Who is your customer? Do you want to service young people, seniors, families, men, women, who is your customer?
Oh, they're saying it's a service. I'm sorry.
Okay, right. So you want to start a service business. Well, I think one thing I always like to suggest to people do is, get some data and information. So if you have a service, provide the service for people. Maybe on the front end, you're not cracking them over the head with the price. So say if you just cut hair or something and people trust you to cut hair, you provide the service. That'll help you figure out, am I good at this? Do I need to get better at it? Is my price point where it is? And am I generating revenue? Sometimes maybe you do it just on the weekends. Maybe if you cut grass or something like that, maybe get you a few properties that you manage. And you want to just be able to proof of concept. It's like that proof of concept. Is this really a good idea? Do I have something here? And you want to use that data. You're always constantly doing data and research to iterate, to make changes where you need to, improve things where you need to. And I think if you're just trying to start a side hustle, then you know, you want to start small and grow it. So I'll just start there and let Sister Chambers kind of add some seasoning to what I just said.
Well, thank you. I appreciate what you said. It's like, you know, you and I are kind of reading each other's minds tonight, because I would have really said the same thing. The only thing I could add, I'll shake a little paprika on it because I'm a spice girl. The stimulus money is
And
really not
we can't see you. We can't
Oh,
see you.
I don't know what happened here. I would just say this, and this is truly a mama wisdom thing, but the best advice I got about money is tithe 10%, save 10%, and live on the 80%. And the same principle applies to your business. That's not a ton of money to start a business. I started with basically nothing. I'm a rare because I sell basically my knowledge. So I started in living at that time in a very substandard, raggedy, you know, not ragged, raggedy mobile home, and in a very small room, and started a business that generated over $1 million before we were done with it. And I would say 75% of that money all went back into the communities that we served. And that's one of the projects, the biggest project that I managed. And I will get back to your question, I promise. Was again starting with nothing, but really built my business on relationships, talking to people, everybody, because everybody's a potential customer. And as a consultant and learning about that, what that is I just learned to listen for what people's pain was. So if you really going to get your hustle on, if my pain is I need my grass cut, do that. And if my pain is I need somebody to watch my kid, do that. You know, listen for pain. That's how you do. And then I just started developing services around that. Um, I worked to develop a project for, at that time, HIV prevention education for rural Black women, and made a model. Nobody told me to do it, but because back to that social entrepreneurship, developed a model where we hired women from that community to teach other women in that community about HIV prevention. And so it was really important to me to keep that circulating and also give them something that when the program went away, those women still had great facilitation skills. And in fact, one of them did go on to get paid employment doing that. So listen for pain, put it back into the community, and I believe you'll do fine.
All right, we have 2 questions left. This person wants to know, okay, I got some money. I'm doing okay. I don't want my kids to start from zero, but at the same time, I don't want them to waste what I'm leaving them. How can I leave them money and force them to be responsible with it at the same time?
Well, good luck with that latter one. And I have to do a disclaimer. I'm not licensed to practice in the state of Illinois, so this isn't legal advice, but this is practical advice. And I don't want to step on Brother Gregory's time, so I'll be brief. First of all, a good estate plan, you do need to see an attorney and sit down with someone that knows what they're doing. There are vehicles and safeguards that you can put in, but if you want them to be responsible, teach them and empower them now about what responsibility looks like. And then frankly, you're going to be dead, so it ain't going to really matter a whole lot, but bad joke. But anyway, that's the reality. And I laugh at that. This is my last thing. African Americans, Black folks, we don't plan to die. It's like if we say the word die, it's going to happen. Too many of us die without wills. Too many of us die without life insurance. We don't need to be at funerals taking up collection to bury a loved one. you know, and that's something. So I'm very interested if people want to get together and we learn about that. And I call it setting your house in order, which my mother gave me that concept, and also, you know, from the scripture. But that's just something in general we are bad at. Hey, that's a business. You like to teach and facilitate, go teach people that. It's something every one of us needs, and every one of us is going to have to deal with death at some point in our lives.
If I can just touch on that a little bit, I'm gonna add some lemon pepper. You put some paprika. I'm gonna add some lemon pepper on that. I just love how you reference your mother and your grandfather and your father, you know, when you're telling these stories. So that's the piece about legacy. The person asked, you know, they said they got a little bit of money, they want to leave some to their kids without them, you know, wasting it. Money is only a part of your legacy. Money is only a part of the wealth that you are going to be passing down to your kids. So this is just the way I think about it. I was very, very fortunate, like my sister said, blessed that I was raised by my father, and he had a good job with life insurance that came with the benefits package. So when he passed, he left us some money, and that changed my life forever. That changed the foundation that I was able to build on, and I'm here today because of a decision that he made and the sacrifices that he made. He had a good job. So I think he invested in life insurance. I think that's a really good thing for you to do. Is really being intentional about passing some funds on to your kids after you pass. So he changed my life forever. That's one thing he did for me. But above and beyond the money that he left me, and this is what I'm sharing about your legacy and the wealth that you're going to pass to your kids. A lot of the things I've been able to do is because of the model that he set for me in terms of personality, in terms of communication, helping people feel important and understood and respected. And also he had an amazing singing voice, and I can sing a little bit. And today I leverage all of those things that he gave me and that he taught me above and beyond money. You know, when he was here, we didn't have a lot of money, but he gave me everything he had as it relates to personality, identity and integrity, communication skills, critical thinking, time management. So that's the most important thing you can give your kids, I think, in terms of a legacy. How to think critically, how to communicate, how to have a positive personality, because those are skills that you can leverage to make money. Teach your kids all of that and get them a little insurance, and they're going to be fine. They're going to be set.
Hey, thank you, Matthew. And we're going to go on to Gregory right now. Meet your speaker, Gregory Norris. Gregory Norris is a retired Marine Corps drill instructor. He is the founder of the non-for-profit organization named ACES for Youth. He attended the White House twice to participate in meetings on how to launch President Obama's My Brothers, parentheses, Sisters, Keeper initiative, a program that is particularly for Black males and females of color. Welcome to the stage, Gregory Norris.
Wow, I really don't know where to begin. This is an awesome program. You've been given all the accolades, Nancy, for what Carbondale United is doing and the people that you are affiliated and associated with and the coalition that you're building. I mean, it's just all, quote unquote, awesome. Keep it up, keep it going, keep it moving forward. All these things that people have said, I'm going to try to just really back out real quick on some short blurps. And I'm going to end after life begins. And that is, I'm going to die. And I love that part about the opening when Jessica was saying, people who got to do a GoFundMe account to bury their own. It won't happen here. I've taken out my insurance policies, and my deaths will be an investment to all of my grandsons and my 2 granddaughters. That is an investment. So backing out on that, you've got to learn to try to have insurance and make that investment, because just as soon as we were born, we're going to die. And I look forward to doing that with some sort of pleasure, knowing that I have left some type of startup fund or wealth behind to my grandchildren. When I joined the Marine Corps, I knew that I was very resilient. And what am I saying about that? Jessica talked about, the melanin and our ability, and I'm gonna just give a short blurb on that. And that is, you do not go across the world in ships and bring back people who cannot do a job and get it done for you. And that is what has happened. We were brought here, did a job, built a country, and have been resilient ever since. No matter what has been done, from the Tuskegee experiment to giving our children Ritalin in school and making drug dealers, we are resilient people. If you can come to understand just how strong you are as an individual, you will begin to compete. When I was in the Marine Corps, there's a lot of racism in the Marine Corps, just like you found out on January the 6th, a lot of military men went and took over the White House. But when you identify your own self-worth and stop allowing people to misuse and abuse your self-worth, you will find out you are more competitive than you are or have ever been. And you don't need a baseball field to be that competitive. You don't need a basketball court to be that competitive. You don't need the tennis court. You don't need any sports or entertainment. This is something that you was given at birth, to be competitive and to be resilient. So if you can recognize that, no matter what man throws at you, you've already been tried, tested, and proven from your ancestors, you're going to overcome it, and you can outbeat it, and you can outdo it. And I think that that's one point that Jessica was making, not only on the $3 trillion, but the fact that devices are put in places to keep us divided. Devices are put in places to keep us from uniting. And we cater to it. We cater to it. Now, when it comes back to this wealth, get some insurance. Real estate. What did I do? In 1980, I bought 15 acres of land for $20,000. North Carolina, $20,000. Now, before Obama went into office and after the economy had busted, it was worth $250,000. Then it went down because of the economy. But now I'm getting letters on that same 15 acres of land of people who want to buy it for $34,000. So I'm saying that, well, people need money now because of COVID and all of these things. I said, so somebody's trying to take advantage of me, and I go out and I research the land and actually find out what's going on. Well, the government in North Carolina wants to buy the land and put solar panels on it in order to provide solar energy for the military bases that my land is in the middle of. So someone is offering me $30,000, and I find out it's worth $300,000 today. So that's another important for me to say that generational wealth is what I'm going to leave behind from those who are behind me. And the one thing I told my son in growing up, I told him, I said, son, if I'm going to be poor, don't you be poor, you be rich. And if I be rich, then you be richer. Leave that generational wealth behind and leave it for a purpose. Leave it for a purpose as a startup. And that's what I look forward to do. Right now, I'm getting ready to hire my granddaughter, and I'm going to pay her. But in paying her, at her age, at 19, she had to reassure me that she was going to take a portion of her pay and put it in the bank for the future. And when she did that, she found out, no, she doesn't get that. I'm the one that makes sure that it goes in the bank, not her. But it's her money. And it's an investment in herself. Even though it's employee pay, it's an investment in herself. So I want to talk about someone that we all have heard of, and that is George Washington Carver, someone who created the peanut, someone who was given land, and when they were given the land, they were told that you would never be able to grow anything on the land because it was bad dirt. And I don't know of any bad dirt. I know of contaminated dirt that man has caused to be contaminated through pollution and all of its oil factories. But George Washington Carver took that land and replenished it and turned it into good soil. And when the people started growing food on that land, it was Roosevelt, the president, that said, you got to go get him. I want him to come and work for my department. And I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I think it was the Department of Commerce or the Department of Interior and Decorator. I'm not sure, but the government wanted him to come and work for them. George Washington Carver turned down the president and said that I'm going to continue to work for my people. And that is something that is greatly needed. Is that when we get people who get an education and have knowledge, we need to find a way to go back and share that knowledge. Because the best education a person can have is one that they can go back and give to their people. I know we're running out of time here. So I'm going to close with the fact of what's going on today. Today, you hear a lot of talk about equity. And I hope that you're hearing the talk about reparations that Senator Booker and Tammy Duckworth is putting on the table at the federal level. Why? Is because, as Jessica said, we have never been paid the debt that's owed to us for building this country, to include the White House itself. Now think about that. But it's not something that you need to go out and harm somebody over, but it's something that you need to stand up and learn to demand that is a debt that's owed to us. And I want you to recognize that the present president of the United States has signed an executive order that's called Unity with Equity. Now, don't confuse equity with reparations. Equity is just saying that you're going to learn to be fair with the resources that many, many, many white Americans have benefited from the slaves who helped establish this industrial revolution to give them their start. And equity is no more than saying that you're going to balance and start sharing and be fair about the resources that exist in this country, be it solar energy that's coming out, a new industry that you should want to be a part of and not just let it be owned by the corporations. When you talk about reparations, you're talking about going back 400 years and coming forward and setting matters straight, because we have never had a start like the start we gave this nation. And I think I'm going to end on that note right there because it's very true. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. Yolanda, do we have questions?
We do. Someone is interested in knowing if any of our panelists know how someone will start off in buying stocks. They're a novice to the idea, but they're ready to jump in.
Brother Norris, you want to touch on that?
Wow. I can, and that's something that you really I'm going to caution you about the penny stock trade. If you're going to get into it, find a good stock about what's going on, and food is a good investment. Think about things that are going to be there, you know, even when we're gone, or think about a need. I can tell you this is that my first stock was tennis shoes, but I want you to think about that. That was when Michael Jordan was out, and I never had a pair of Jordans, never. But I invested in Jordans because I saw everybody was wearing them. And I can tell you what happened to me and what brought me to that point. I was in the Marine Corps, sitting in the cafeteria eating lunch, and I saw these white young males the same age as me sitting around talking about how they were going to invest in Michael Jordan's tennis shoes because the Black community was buying them. And I'm listening. And they were there every day at lunchtime talking about what stock to buy in. And that was my first stock, and it did not let me down. But I was listening to them at the same age I was, knowing nothing about stock. Tennis shoes. Think about it. But I would say, even if you're going to invest in that, just like FUBU, stop wearing them and start making them. Start designing them. Because if you go around and look at some of the white people who are wearing tennis shoes today, I forget the name of it, but they're Congress. But there's another name, I can't think of it, but they're Converses. But they call them, but the white people call them. I said, I was wearing those. That was the hit thing. But they're wearing them now. So I'm saying, first of all, you're gonna have to read about stock. You're gonna have to read, and monitor. You are. And then be on the lookout for a good stock. I'm mad because I didn't do Google when it came out when I could have. I missed that. I really did. But I did not miss Jordans. I did not miss the importance of getting me some land and knowing that that would be a long-term investment. And again, food.
I'm gonna add to that. I'm gonna add to what Brother Norris said. One thing that, so when it comes to stocks, it's one of those things. I love that Brother Norris said read, because it's so foundational, and that's a lot of the responses that you're gonna get from us. You have to read. You're gonna have to do some research. There really isn't a shortcut answer to it. You're gonna have to put a little time in, do some homework, and create a strategy for yourself. And there's a lot of good information out there. One thing that I learned about the stock market. So I have a 401k. So that is my participation in the stock market through my 401k. I don't have a brokerage account. I downloaded the Robinhood app, but I haven't started using it to purchase stocks yet. So, but I am in the stock market through my 401k. And, but either way, there are some people who kind of try to day trade. It's called day trading. They try to look at the market every day and buy and sell based on timing every day. Like, oh, is it up this week? Is it down this week? I got a hunch. I want to try to beat the trend. That's one way to go about it. It's very time and labor intensive. You can lose a lot of money. You can make a lot of money. What I was told about stock investing is that it's not about timing. It's about time in. So, and that is to say, year over year, the market tends to grow. And what you want to do is determine what you like and what you're interested in purchasing, and put time into your strategy, and that will help you make money. So, some people go crazy for the day trade. I got homies who do day trade. They own Robinhood. They own, Webull. They own E-Trade. They got these apps, and you can do a lot of cool things. They give you data. That's one way to go about it. I'm not interested in doing that. I have more time and energy for other things. But I do know that it's about time in. So even if you missed that, you feel like you missed the window, just get into the game with your strategy and put the time into it. Invest periodically, keep putting money into it. And because the market grows, so as you put more money into your stocks, the market is growing, so your money is growing. So that's one way to think about it. It's not timing, it's time in. I want you to just look into this thing called a mutual fund. Look into a mutual fund, and I'll just have you start there.
The one thing you can say about a mutual fund is that any mutual fund is most likely better than putting your money in the bank, because when you put it in the bank and you're trying to make interest off of it, you're not making money, you're making somebody else rich.
That leads us to our very next question, because someone wanted to know, how do they research the banks to find out which one is giving the better interest rate?
It just goes back to doing your homework, or maybe talking to other people in business. Brother Gregory and I were talking about mentoring versus coaching, and I submit you need both, but developmentally, you need coaching first. But yeah, that's where you expand your network. Remember, everybody you meet has a gift to give you, and give them something first. You what is that expression? Seek to be understood then instead of understanding. But anyway, I can't stress relationships. And then part of that relationship is asking people and doing, again, getting online. You're very fortunate now. Everything's in the internet. I remember going to the library and digging through books and newspapers. And so I know that really seems archaic to a lot of this audience, but it's there. It's a finger click away. Most of the banks are going to be pretty competitive. I personally enjoy dealing with credit unions. They have a little bit, more slant. You actually, as a member, own that entity. So since they're not as focused on making profit, solely or exclusively, they're more concerned about member services. So kind of just depends on what you want, the interest rate, service, but you got to have that relationship with your banker. Because even if you have world-class credit, which very few of us do, but even with that or without it, sometimes that relationship, if you're a person of integrity and that banker feels like he's going to get his money back, then they'll be a little bit more likely to approve your loan.
Yeah, I'll add to what Sister Chambers said. I think that she hit it on the head with a big part of. So the interest rates are set by the Fed, and then the banks, have to go with what it's set at. Right now they're historically low. So right now, you got cheap money out there. But what they're going to do is assess your individual, financial profile. So they're going to look at your credit, they're going to look at your employment history, they're going to look at your savings, they're going to look at your capacity to repay. And all of that is how you access credit. Now, I would suggest, like my sister said, the smaller regional institutions and credit unions tend to have more capacity to serve us, especially when it comes to business services. You got like Chase and Citibank and US Bank and all of these big banks. They're really good at retail services. They're really good at throwing you a app so you can take a picture of your check and deposit it, and offering you online stuff. All of the retail service, they're really good at that. But when it comes to business services, a lot of times they got more bureaucracy and processes in place. And those smaller banks, they're closer to the ground. So that's not to say they still don't assess your financial profile, but like Sister Chambers said, a lot of times if you can demonstrate some integrity and some passion and a strong plan, the decision makers are closer to the ground and they can work with you to help you accomplish your goals. So I would say, look at those smaller banks, even though they don't have commercials on TV, you know, a lot of times have a person in there that you can connect with to help you achieve your goals. And right now we still working with credit. You got to get your credit right. You got to have some savings in place. You got to demonstrate, you know, employment is important, and because they want to see if things go bad, how am I going to get my money back? So those are the things that you want to keep in mind.
Well, I'm looking. I don't think I see any questions at the moment.
Okay, Jennifer, we don't have any more questions. So it's time for the prize giveaway. And we have a Roku Smart TV for our prize giveaway today. And Jennifer, if you could tell us who our winner is.
No problem. I'm gonna tell you. Let me see. Sharon Simon, you are the winner of the Roku TV. So we will email you where you can pick up your prize.
Congratulations, Sharon, on winning the Roku TV today. We have an upcoming event, Mother's Day Summit, May 6th at 6 p.m. Nominate your mother. Send information why she deserves to be the Mother of the Year to Carbondale United 15 at gmail.com. That event will be happening on May 6th at 6 p.m. Please look at Carbondale United and the library's page for more events. Contact information. For more questions or information at Carbondale United, our email address is carbondaleunited15 at gmail.com. Facebook is Create a Better Community 15. Thank you so much for attending this event. And please keep in contact with us. We'll have more events coming up here shortly.
Thank you to all the panelists. You guys all were amazing.
Yes, they were. This was a really good summit.
Thank you. I was very, very pleased and honored to be part of it, Nancy. And to my esteemed panelists, whoa, that's all I can say. I learned a lot. If no one else did, I learned a lot. So I've got to run out and get me a coach again, Brother Gregory. And I need to look at buying some property, Brother Matt. So, and Miss Yolanda, don't know you, but now I know you, and thank you for doing just a bang up job being our hostess with the mostest. And thank you again, Jennifer, and the Carbondale Public Library.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Brother Gregory, my father was a Marine.
Okay.